In no particular order, here are some of the weirdest things people pay money for. Number 9. Not for cooking. Want to own a luxurious pot used by high society women in the 18th century? Well, you'll probably have to come up with more than $70,000 for one particularly expensive one. This elaborately decorated expensive porcelain pot, for example, was made around 1724. It's part of a prized ceramic collection worth as much as $2.6 million. So why would some chamber pots be so valuable today? Well, it's really the weird ritual behind it. Apparently, women in high society would often use chamber pots in public, and then have their maid carry it away. Does this sound weird yet? Because it's really even weirder. She would first be bathed and sponged by her maid in private, but then she would get dressed, eat her breakfast, have her hair arranged, and then relieve herself, all in front of a group of onlookers. This is how super rich women would show off their wealth back in the 18th century. Weird flex, but okay. Seriously, it was a privilege for spectators to watch these high society rituals. The oval pots with handles were designed for ladies to place beneath their skirts. The chamber pot was known as a Bourdalou, named after the priest Louis Bourdalou, who preached at the court of French King Louis IV. Apparently, his sermons were so fascinating that ladies of the court would use their pots right on the spot, rather than leave to relieve themselves. Number 8. Root causes. The roots of American ginseng and Asian ginseng both have long-standing reputations as folk medicines, especially when harvested from wild plants. Wild American ginseng grows mostly in the Appalachian and Ozark regions, often in public parks. Enthusiasts believe the ginseng to be more potent the less domesticated the plant. Enthusiasts believe that ginsenosides, the active ingredient in ginseng, can boost immunity and mood, reduce the risk of cancer, and lower blood sugar levels in diabetics. But its biggest magic? Well, let's just say it supposedly helps older guys with better firmness in certain areas. 95% of all ginseng goes to Asia, mostly to buyers in China and Korea. These buyers look for ginseng with bulbous roots shaped like turnips. They'll also pay a premium for a man root, which is basically a root shaped like a human figure with 4 limbs and, look, you guys can use your imagination. Over the past decade, prices for wild ginseng have been rising, easily reaching thousands of dollars a pound for the most prized examples. Another reason that ginseng root is so expensive is because it's also considered an investment commodity. The most expensive root are the ancient ones, as buyers believe old roots have absorbed more energy and potency. In 2007, one Chinese buyer paid $400,000 for a 300-year-old root weighing less than a pound. Number 7. Platform sneakers. There are some trends that fizzle out as quickly as they come in, but luxury brands' love for platform shoes, or shoes with big soles, is proving to be more persistent. It seems like the new generation of sneakers with big soles is here to stay for a while. Ugly, of course, is subjective, because some of these sneakers aren't ugly to everyone. But for example, we'd bet that most people that look at a pair of Balenciaga sneakers will say they're just plain ugly. Yeah, they do look different, and after all, fashion brands need to keep selling new designs in order to keep sales and profit up. However, these luxury platform shoes can cost from a few $100s per pair, all the way up to over $1,000 for the most expensive pairs. For example, the Louis Vuitton Runaway Pulse sneaker retails for $1,230. The look is still picking up momentum. Even sports brands such as Nike and Adidas are going into the trend as well, with some of their own shoes with big soles, copying luxury brands' look. What do you guys think? Do you guys think these platform shoes are ugly or no? Number 6. Caviar of the East. How does a soup made from the spit of a bird sound? Not tasty at all, right? Yeah, we definitely don't have interest in trying it. But bird's nest soup is one of the most expensive delicacies in the world. The nests are made of solidified swiftlet saliva, and it's also known as the caviar of the East. Bird's nest soup is popular in China because of its rarity, supposedly high nutritional value, and flavor. Bird's nests easily get up to thousands of dollars per pound, with the price depending on the grading. This results in a single bowl of soup that can cost hundreds of dollars at a restaurant. The reason it's so expensive is because of the dangerous and extensive process of getting the nests, as well as cleaning the nests so they're safe to eat. In the wild, the swiftlet builds its nest at dangerous heights, usually in mountaintop caves. To find the nests, scouts climb up to the highest heights of the caves 3 times a year, using only handmade ropes and makeshift ladders. Since the nests are constructed from a mixture of bird feathers and bird saliva, the nests have to be cleaned before they can be used for soup. Nest cleaners use tiny tools to pull every single feather out of the nest. What's left behind is a small, hardened shell made almost entirely of swiftlet saliva. Bird's nest soup is soft and jelly-like. The swiftlet saliva is roughly 70% protein, and when it's dissolved in water, it becomes a gelatinous mixture with a sweet flavor. Sounds disgusting to us, but hey, whatever it takes to flex. Number 5, too much drip. Ah, fashion. Ever heard of it? Imagine for a moment a cloud. Now imagine that cloud was designed by Valentino's creative director. Now weatherproof it and bam! That's where this crazy looking Moncler jacket comes from. A Pierpaolo Piccioli collaboration with Moncler. Did we even pronounce his name right? It's the same jacket that actor Ezra Miller wore to the Paris premiere of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Just a moment after Miller wore it on the red carpet, the jacket was sold out on Moncler's online store. It might be difficult to understand how a ridiculous-looking jacket that sold for over $4,000 could be sold out, but hey, rich people like to look rich. And in this case, this jacket makes whoever's wearing it appear to be a fashion-forward Michelin man. But really, we're just trying to figure out rich people fashion. Why would someone want to buy a jacket that looks like they're wearing a puffy teepee? This jacket is part of the Moncler Genius Collection, a collection that's still slowly being released throughout 2019. While there are a few jackets and sweaters that look relatively normal in the collection, there are also other items such as dresses that look just as ridiculous as the jacket. Who knows? Maybe these jackets and dresses from the Moncler Genius Collection just go really well with those super popular oversized Balenciaga sneakers that fashionistas are going crazy over right now. Number 4, abalone. Abalone, also known as the ear shell, is a mollusk that's one of the most expensive shellfish on the market. The abalone's value comes from both its meat and from the inside of the shell, an iridescent blue mother-of-pearl color. The abalone lives on rocky outcrops in the ocean, where it feeds on algae. The shell's tough exterior creates an extremely strong hold on rocks. Removing abalone is extremely difficult, and it requires time, skill, and dedication. This is one reason why the shellfish is so expensive. Getting it is extremely complicated. Shells camouflage with their surroundings, taking on the color of algae and hiding in small nooks and crannies. A lot of times, these spaces are almost impossible to reach by hand. Another reason for the high price is that abalone runs a high risk of extinction, and many countries have a cap on the number of abalone fishermen can catch per day. Supply is limited in comparison to demand, and the price of wild abalone can run as high as $250 per pound, depending on size and quality. As a kilo caught roughly translate into only half a pound of meat. However, the abalone is actually delicious, one reason why demand is so high. Number 3, a bit of extra flavor. Kopi Luwak is a famous Indonesian coffee made from coffee beans that are first eaten and digested by a civet. Yep, that's right. Rich people pay a lot of money for coffee beans that have passed through the digestive system of a civet. The steep cost is a direct result of the lengthy and complex process. First, a civet picks out and eats coffee cherries. The coffee cherries pass through the civet's digestive system and ferment due to the presence of specific enzymes. This process is believed to add to the overall flavor of the Kopi Luwak coffee. The people who are willing to pay the super high prices for Kopi Luwak claim that it's the best cup of coffee on the planet. However, many coffee experts say that Kopi Luwak is really just a marketing gimmick, and that Kopi Luwak tastes bitter and overly earthy. But ever since coffee expert Tony Wild introduced Kopi Luwak to the West in the early 90s, as the coffee director at Betty's and Taylor's of Harrogate, there's been huge demand. It's stocked at luxury retailers all over the world, and it's one of the biggest delicacies marketed to tourists in Indonesia. The traditional method has been to pick through wild civet poop in order to get the fermented coffee cherries. This method is what results in hundreds of dollars for a pound of Kopi Luwak. We don't need to tell you guys that it takes a lot of time to manually collect enough beans to make a pound of Kopi Luwak, do we? Also, there's no automated process in place. All the poop sorting is done entirely by hand. Number 2. Matsutake mushrooms. Unlike regular supermarket varieties of mushrooms, Matsutake mushrooms are virtually impossible to commercially farm. There have been instances where farmers have managed to cultivate small batches of truffles, another expensive mushroom for example, but no one has quite managed to mass-produce Matsutake. These mushrooms are popular in Japanese, Korean, and Chinese cuisine for its distinct spicy and aromatic odor. Also known as red pine mushrooms, Matsutake mushrooms grow in places such as Japan, Korea, northeastern China, and southeast Russia. There are also several species of Matsutake mushrooms that can be harvested in Canada, Norway, and the United States. But the most highly coveted type is the one primarily harvested at the roots of red pine trees. The demand for these mushrooms has steadily increased through the years, while the supply has kept dwindling. Matsutake mushrooms haven't always been expensive, but with the supply going down every year because of the mushroom's very specific growth requirements, prices keep going up. Japanese Matsutake mushrooms have gone for as much as $1,000 for a kilogram. Number 1. All black everything. So what's the most expensive fowl out there? The king of the most expensive fowl would have to be the Indonesian chicken breed Ayam Cemani. The cost of one of these guys can cost roughly $2,500. But the price, of course, fluctuates depending on the actual supply of them on the market. Ayam Cemani birds are extremely rare and extremely difficult to breed. So what's so special about this particular chicken? Well, a lot of the draw is strictly aesthetic. These chickens are entirely black, from their feathers to their muscles, to even their internal organs. The black coloring is the result of a genetic trait known as fibromelanosis. The birds carry a high value in Asia because they're rare, and their black meat is believed to have mystical powers. Their black ink-colored feathers are also highly prized because of its shimmer and metallic sheen. There are other types of black chickens, such as the silky and Australorp chicken, that are much cheaper. In China, black chickens are considered a gourmet superfood. Apparently, the taste is like a deep, gamey flavor. Here's what's next.